Hey everyone, I've got a few excerpts for you from a recent drawing stream that I did on my portrait of Merritt, so I hope you enjoy this. Some of the process here for some of the skin tones. I'm wanting to work my way down the side plane of the nose and top part of the cheek right here. Herculanum was one of the colors I've been using, and Herculanum in Luminance, which is 068. And another big key player here in this particular palette was burnt ochre 10%, which is 872. And work my way down the top part of this cheek. With this lighting, we've got a very subtle, darker spot right here on the top part of the cheek because the lighting is mostly hitting the side plane of the head. I love having lighting that is just not so typical or classic. When you're thinking about portraits in particular, I like having some alternate lighting scenarios where you're hitting the subject from a slightly different angle than what you may typically expect. Using an incredibly sharp pencil here, wanting to go on top of this dark indigo in Polychromos for my grisaille, that initial laydown of value. Now, why do I use dark indigo? And I don't always use it, but I am often using dark indigo. And really, the reason for that is it's more of a neutral. It's number 157 in Polychromos. If you're interested in taking a look at it, if you're a colored pencil enthusiast, then you probably already are familiar with that pencil. It's not a typical say cheese pose, which is what, I wanted. If I come inside the nasolabial fold down here and I make sure that I can clearly identify where that separation is between the cheek and the mouth, even though it'll be so blurred by the time we're done. If I can make the determination of where it is right now, then that's going to help me. At least it will help my mind to kind of figure out, what's going on. I like doing live streams once in a while just to give a sense of just how much work is actually involved and how much time there is involved. But I want to come right inside here, switching my pencil to burnt ochre 10%. And then on the edge of this little passage that I created, just to create more of that subtle gradient over into this darker area. This is not the typical way that I work. This was actually done as a tutorial. So I was only working on the eye as a tutorial, and I went ahead and drew it to near completion. And then now I'm coming back and working on the rest of the drawing and using more of my process now of creating the grisaille, and then now starting to add some skin tones. It doesn't take a whole lot of the dark indigo to just establish some of those dark values and to understand the contours and the movement of the form. But now coming back and placing the skin tones in here, move this down a little bit more, even though this is going to be slightly darker when we get closer to the mouth. I'm still going to add this lighter color right here. I'm gonna grab my dark flesh 40% or warm earth 40% is what the name changed to. Just increase some of that dark value. We'll have to go on top with some pinks and reds as well, but I do want to deepen this just a little bit of richness to this dark tone right here. Anthraquinone, Carmine. We come right inside here. A little bit of red. Once we get these soft wax-based pencils in here, then we'll go on top with Polychromos pencils. And it starts to give us a smoother texture on the surface. If you're patient and if you wait long enough and add these dark tones in here and some of the rough texture that you get with wax-based pencils, and then you go on top with your Polychromos pencils, then you can start to see that skin texture develop and come to life. And it's really pretty incredible because we'll zoom in here just a little bit. The paper and the process, the technique can actually help you to create something that looks like skin texture. It's so great to be able to do that just with pencils. I like that sort of that waterfall approach of working down the face when I'm just rendering all the layers required to build up all these pigment layers. Otherwise, it's a very direct process, right? Putting pencil on the paper. We don't have this in between that we're using, like what oil painters may use when they're using a palette instead. I'm going to come in here with Ivory and just work on this side. Ivory is another one that's just like a staple. That's number 103. This little mouth rhythm is, if you think about how maybe Frank Riley would have characterized this particular part of the face. I don't want to go down too far, but I do want to create a gradient, fade away from that area. Careful, though, not to burnish at this point. I need to think about this overall hierarchy of values and colors, but I want this to be a localized area for darker values and right up here. That overall look and texture that we've got on the surface right now is very rough. So that's not what we're going to end up with by the time we're done.